She asked if there was space in my bed. I asked if she'd stay forever. At that moment, standing beneath the pale sunlight pouring through my apartment window, with a suitcase in one hand and tears drying on her cheeks, neither of us understood that those few words would change two broken lives forever. Before we begin this journey, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who still believes in kindness, and subscribe to A Journey of Hearts if you believe people deserve second chances and that love can sometimes arrive when we have already given up searching for it. The morning had started like every other morning in my quiet neighborhood. The sky was clear, birds rested on electric wires, and the scent of fresh bread drifted from the bakery across the street. It was the kind of bright day that photographers chase and poets write about, but for me it was simply another reminder that the world continued moving even when your own heart had stopped years ago. My name was Tavian Mercer. I was 38 years old and had spent the last 6 years living inside a carefully built routine designed to protect me from disappointment. I woke up at 6 every morning, watered the plants on my balcony, drank black coffee, worked remotely as an architectural illustrator, ate lunch alone, and spent evenings reading books or watching old movies. I spoke politely to neighbors, smiled at cashiers, and volunteered every Saturday at the community library. To outsiders, I looked peaceful. To myself, I felt hollow. 6 years earlier, my wife had died in a car accident while driving home from visiting her parents. We had been married for 9 years and were expecting our first child. I lost them both in a single rainy night. People often say time heals all wounds. I learned that time simply teaches you how to carry pain without dropping it. Some mornings I still reached across the bed expecting to feel warmth beside me. Some evenings I cooked enough food for two before remembering there was no one waiting at the table. Friends encouraged me to date again. My sister tried introducing me to colleagues. My mother begged me not to spend every holiday alone. But love had become something I admired from a distance, like sunlight shining through a window that I no longer believed I deserved to stand beneath. That Tuesday morning, I returned from buying groceries and found a woman sitting on the front steps of my apartment building. She looked exhausted. Her auburn hair was tangled from the wind. Her sweater was wrinkled. A small navy blue suitcase rested beside her, and she clutched a folded paper cup that had long gone empty. At first, I assumed she was waiting for someone. As I walked past, she looked up. There was embarrassment in her eyes. And fear. The kind of fear people carry when they have nowhere left to go. I nodded politely and unlocked the building door. Then I heard her voice. She asked if I knew of any cheap motels nearby. I told her there was one about 3 blocks away. She thanked me, but she didn't move. I hesitated. Something about her expression reminded me of a photograph I once saw after a hurricane. People standing among ruins trying to appear strong while silently hoping someone would notice they were drowning. I asked if she was all right. She smiled weakly. People smile differently when they are trying not to cry. She explained that her name was Seraphine Vale. She had moved to the city 3 years earlier after accepting a teaching position at an elementary school. 2 weeks ago, she discovered that her fiancé had been secretly seeing someone else for almost a year. The apartment lease was under his name. When she confronted him, he told her she needed to leave. She had stayed with a coworker for several nights but felt guilty imposing any longer. She had spent most of her savings helping pay for medical bills for her mother who lived in another state. Now she was trying to find somewhere affordable until her next paycheck arrived. She spoke calmly, almost mechanically, as though she had repeated the story enough times that it no longer felt connected to her own life. Then her composure cracked. She admitted she had not slept properly in days. She hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. And she didn't know what she was going to do. I offered to buy her breakfast. She refused at first. Then accepted. We walked to a nearby cafe. Sunlight spilled across the sidewalk. People hurried to work carrying briefcases and cups of coffee. No one noticed the woman sitting across from me who was trying desperately to hold herself together. She ordered the cheapest thing on the menu. I ordered extra pastries. As we ate, I learned she loved painting landscapes. She adored children. She dreamed of owning a small cottage surrounded by flowers. And despite everything that had happened, she still apologized repeatedly for being a burden. That word bothered me. Burden. I knew what it felt like to believe your existence inconvenienced others. After breakfast, I walked her back toward my building. She thanked me. She picked up her suitcase. Then she asked the question. She asked if there was space in my bed. My heart nearly stopped. She quickly explained. Not like that. She meant whether there was space in my apartment. She would sleep on the floor. Or the couch. Only for a few nights. Until she could figure things out. She promised she would leave as soon as possible. I looked at her. At the trembling fingers gripping the suitcase handle. At the exhaustion etched beneath her eyes. At the woman who had clearly spent years taking care of everyone except herself. And before I could stop myself, I asked if she'd stay forever. The words escaped before logic intervened. She stared at me. Then laughed softly. It was the first genuine laugh I had heard from her all morning. I immediately apologized. I explained that I didn't mean forever. I simply meant she was welcome to stay as long as she needed. She wiped her eyes. And agreed. The first few days felt strange. She slept on the couch despite my insistence that she take the bedroom. She cooked dinner to thank me. She cleaned dishes before I could touch them. She bought flowers for the kitchen table using the little money she had left. The apartment slowly changed. Music returned. Windows stayed open. The scent of cinnamon candles replaced silence. I realized how accustomed I had become to loneliness. At first, I guarded my heart carefully. I expected her to leave within a week. But days became weeks. Weeks became months. She found a small part-time tutoring job after school hours. She saved money. She searched for apartments. Yet every evening she still returned carrying groceries and stories about her students. One afternoon, I arrived home early and found her sitting on the balcony crying. She held a sketchbook in her lap. Pages filled with beautiful paintings. Mountains. Sunsets. Children playing beneath trees. I asked what was wrong. She confessed she had stopped painting after her engagement ended. Her former fiancé used to criticize her artwork. He called it childish. He told her nobody would ever buy paintings from someone so ordinary. She believed him. For years. I sat beside her. And reminded her that cruel people often destroy things they secretly envy. I encouraged her to paint again. The following weekend I bought canvases. Brushes. Paint. She resisted. Then surrendered. Soon every corner of the apartment bloomed with color. Blue oceans leaned against walls. Golden fields rested near windows. Birds appeared on tables waiting to dry. She painted every morning before work while sunlight illuminated her hair. For the first time in years, I caught myself smiling without forcing it. But healing is rarely straightforward. One evening she found a framed photograph of my wife hidden inside a closet. She apologized for invading my privacy. I told her she hadn't. Then I finally shared my story. I told her about the accident. About the child we never met. About spending years pretending I was alive while feeling emotionally buried. She listened quietly. No interruptions. No advice. Only understanding. When I finished speaking, she reached for my hand. And squeezed gently. It was the first human touch I had allowed myself to accept in 6 years. Winter arrived. the city transformed beneath soft sunlight and cool breezes. By then she had enough savings to move out. She found a modest apartment 15 minutes away. She showed me photographs. Asked what I thought. I told her it looked wonderful. She smiled. But sadness lingered behind her expression. The night before she planned to sign the lease, she cooked dinner. Neither of us spoke much. The silence between us felt heavier than usual. After washing dishes, she stood near the doorway. She thanked me. For rescuing her. For believing in her paintings. For giving her a place to breathe. Then she admitted something. She didn't want to leave. Not because she lacked money. Not because she feared being alone. But because somewhere between shared breakfasts, grocery shopping, and late-night conversations, she had fallen in love. And she thought perhaps I had too. I wanted to answer immediately. But fear returned. Fear of losing someone again. Fear that happiness was temporary. Fear that opening my heart meant inviting devastation. So I remained silent. She nodded. As though she expected that response. The next morning she packed her suitcase. The same suitcase she carried on the day we met. She hugged me. Then walked toward the door. And something inside me shattered. I realized I had spent 6 years surviving. Seraphine taught me how to live again. She reminded me laughter still existed. That kindness mattered. That grief and love could occupy the same heart. I rushed forward. Stopped her. And finally spoke. I told her I loved her. Not because she fixed me. Not because she erased my past. But because she accepted every broken piece I carried. And because she transformed a house into a home simply by existing inside it. She cried. I cried. Sunlight streamed through the windows exactly as it had on the morning she arrived. Except this time, neither of us felt lost. 3 years later, her paintings hung inside local galleries. Children from her school proudly visited exhibitions and pointed at canvases saying their teacher created magic. I still illustrated buildings. But now I illustrated homes too. Homes filled with gardens. Families. Second chances. Every Saturday we volunteered together at the library. And every Sunday morning we drank coffee on the balcony surrounded by flowers she planted herself. Sometimes visitors asked how we met. She would smile. Look at me. And tell them she once asked if there was space in my bed. And I asked if she'd stay forever. The truth is, forever isn't a promise people make. Forever is choosing someone repeatedly. On ordinary mornings. On difficult days. During arguments. Through tears. Through healing. Through uncertainty. Forever is waking up beside someone and feeling grateful they still chose to remain. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to A Journey of Hearts. Your support allows more stories of hope, healing, and love to reach people who may need them most. Special request, comment below with "Love still finds us" if you believe that even after heartbreak, life can surprise us with beautiful new beginnings. As the sun set beyond our balcony that evening, Seraphine rested her head against my shoulder while the sky turned shades of gold and crimson. I thought about the lonely man I used to be and the frightened woman sitting outside my building with nowhere to go. We had both arrived carrying invisible wounds, convinced that our happiest chapters were already behind us. Yet life, in its quiet and mysterious way, had written a new chapter neither of us expected. Sometimes the people who ask for a place to sleep are really searching for a place where their hearts can finally rest. And sometimes, when we dare to open a door for someone else, we discover that we have also unlocked the door to our own future. In the end, she stayed forever. And for the first time in many years, so did hope.